Good morning, everybody. Another episode of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. I got Josh Paparone in the building. I'm fired up. JUCO Nation, stand up. Pappy, how you doing this morning, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Thank you for having us on. JUCO Nation, JUCO Bandits, right? Haven't
We're here. We're here.
haven't heard that in a little bit, but man, it definitely feels good to be back in the sports world and talk a little bit. And hopefully I can share a little bit of organic, interesting stuff this morning. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm ready to roll. And let's talk about some fun stuff and get some good things.
I love it, man. I know it's been a heck of a ride for you, not only as an athlete, but as a family man now. We'll get into all of that. We got David Mitchell joining us back on the pod. Dave, how you doing, brother?
We're back. I'm excited to be back. Missed the last 2 weeks. Missed being on here. Shining light on mental health. So I'm excited for this episode. I know it's going to be a good one. So
Dave, can you tell the audience what you're doing on these mornings so they get why you're not here sometimes?
I work another job at a restaurant. So I start at 6 a.m. at the restaurant and end about 4 on Saturday and Sundays. So sometimes if I'm the opener, I can't be on here, unfortunately. Hopefully the audience understands. But yeah, I'm working on the side.
I just want to let them know, Dave, that you're not just sleeping in or something. Like, I know you're always grinding, man. You're always doing your thing. I got to ask you before I go to Pappy, what's your favorite part of working at a restaurant, brother?
Oh, man, it's a circus.
Yeah, I bet, dude. I bet.
It's nonstop, especially during this time with the busy time. I live in a little tourist town, so when the mountain opens and all the tourists come in, we probably double or triple our size of the town on the weekends here, just because it's coming up. So I don't know. I just like working with people. I like the fast-paced environment, and it keeps me on my toes for sure.
Just know we appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate you taking time before work today. Pappy, let's talk about this, man. This is a mental health podcast at the end of the day, and this has been something I've been trying to schedule since season 1 of this show. I was excited to have you on. Tell me why you made time today to jump on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely hits home, and it's something that I feel like personally, as I got older, you start to recognize a little bit more about the things. You get some perspective as you get older, and you start recognizing those things. As I was listening to some of your podcasts with other guests, and maybe kind of diving into a little bit more, do my own research, you're like, wow. This had maybe affected me a little bit more than I thought. You try to be present while you're going through your career as an athlete, and you try to be wise, and you think you know these things, but you really don't, or at least you don't know the full picture. And I feel like it hit home for me a lot, and it was something that you think you can kind of get a grasp on early on in your life, and you really don't. And I just, the light bulb kind of went on. It's like there's definitely some things, some organic things that I'd love to share today that hopefully could help the next person as they go through their athletic career, or maybe not just their athletic career, just post athletic career, as they get into the real world and start facing some even tougher problems as they get through their life. So I guess really, yeah, it just hit home, and I'm hopefully I can help and share some light on my experience, and hopefully help some people.
No, I appreciate you jumping on and being vulnerable right away. I think I've had a lot of guys and girls on this podcast that come on and they're like, I didn't expect to go here. And all of a sudden we're talking about things that that they haven't talked about in years or never really unpacked, right? Josh, when I look back at your recruiting process 10 years ago, I'm going to be very honest with you. I didn't realize this at the time. It's kind of an underdog story for you. Talk about your high school experience. Going from York, correct? It was York High School?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Going from York High School in the recruiting process, I want to say you were under-recruited pretty much most of your senior year.
Yeah, I'd like to think so too. I think it helps my ego a little bit to think that I was under-recruited. That I thought so, man. You're a heck of a player, brother. I was actually a talented player. Yeah, coming out of York, definitely not a tough situation, as in, it's still a solid suburb and a great school. And there's been some decent athletes come out there. I know in prior years, there's been some good baseball players, ahead of me. And I think that's what we'll probably get down this road a little bit as well. But playing below a couple years underneath my brother, who was even more of a heck of an athlete, and his group of guys that growing up around those guys and seeing what those guys can do in multi-sports definitely kind of set the bar for me, and it was a high
Yeah.
bar.
Oh
And
yeah.
and we'll definitely want to get into that a little bit, but yeah, I thought I was a heck of an athlete, definitely in the shadow a little bit of that team, my brother's team, and my brother himself, and just how good they were, and maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on myself and not really kind of giving myself my own rope to kind of to climb. And but yeah, thought I was a strong baseball player. Probably should have stuck with more sports. I think I kind of pigeonholed myself just to stick with baseball because that's what I was the best at. But I was pretty good at some other sports too that I wish I pursued into the next level as well. But yeah, wish the recruiting process went a little different when I was in high school.
Yeah, I would say this, and I'm going to go to Dave in a second. I obviously get the whole brother dynamic, a little bit different. My brother was younger, obviously. It was Joe, right? Joe's your older brother.
Yep. Yeah, correct.
Joe was a heck of a player. He had a lot of buddies in that class at York that were really talented. And I sit back and look at that time and I go, damn, you could have just kind of ran your own race at times, right? Do you feel like
Yeah.
you were kind of trying to chase him at times?
Yeah, definitely in high school. I think he was under recruited as well. As many as those guys, as a lot more of those guys as well in that grad class. They were all really talented. I think it was just really no one really knows how to get recruited. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, fair.
We didn't come from a school where people are going Division I left and right and then getting drafted. Those guys that do, like the guys like Ryan Hinchley. I mean, they did the right thing and got themselves involved in teams that were outside the high school that really knew what to do and how to get them in the right limelight. So I think just there was a lot of good athletes that came out of our high school that just needed to probably just recruit it, and they just didn't know where to go or how to go about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that that part of comparison, right? Like maybe I wasn't always comparing myself to a brother that I had, but maybe on the field I was comparing myself to other teammates, other players out there.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone that may be struggling with comparison and maybe struggling with like, oh, I'm not good enough, or struggling with their self-worth and always comparing themselves to others other than focusing on themselves? What would you say to someone that's in that comparison phase? Because I think
Love that.
we all go through that phase.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, we still go through that phase as we go through life. You're always comparing yourself and stacking yourself against others. I'll try not to get too cliche with this, but there is that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. I try to live by that because there is always someone that's better than you, richer than you, taller than you, whatever it might be. But at that time, I was definitely comparing myself to that standard that they definitely set the bar for me. At the teammate level with my group, again, I tried to think that I always tried to think I was the best athlete on that field. I didn't want to compare myself with the guys around me because they're my teammates and I wanted them to be just as good so we could succeed. But some tips and tricks are just kind of how I dealt with it is you got to give yourself some leeway. You got to give yourself some props. You're in the same position. You're on the same field. You're doing the same things as these guys. You got to give yourself some props that you're out there competing with that same group. No, every time you step on that field and that game starts, anyone can be the best player in that field for that game. So you got to give yourself some breathing room a little bit to do what you can with your natural ability to shine a little bit and get out there and have some fun. So every game, every situation, you have an opportunity to, give yourself a chance to win. So you got to let it happen.
I had the same conversation with a girl out in HQ a couple of days ago about if every throw and every at bat and every game is life or death, you're going to be out of this game in a year.
Yeah.
Like, it will break you down, right? And she like looked at me and I was like, no, like, I'm serious. Like, this game is way too hard. Like, sports are way too hard to be living on every single movement. Because, dude, Josh, you were a heck of a player, man, but we failed 7 out of 10, right? Like, it's just, it's crazy. But talk about that, man. I obviously meet you at a great time in life at 18 years old. I meet you at Oakton, and I see his outfielder coming in. This guy could just flat out hit the baseball. Talk about the Raider gang. Talk about Oakton. Talk about your JUCO experience, man.
What a journey that was. I would love to go back in a heartbeat. You know, definitely, I don't want to say regret it all, but I would love to just change some things just to make that experience just a tiny bit better because, you know, again, perspective. Maybe it's just the old man in me turning 30 in a couple weeks.
I love it, man. You sound wise.
Like,
you sound wise.
Yeah, but I would have loved to go back. That experience was definitely something, but it is the definition of, you know, a battle, the JUCO experience, and mental health definitely plays a role, whether you know you want to admit it or not. Coming out of high school, not even knowing what I wanted to do for school, whether it was studying to be whatever. I didn't even know where I was going to play. A buddy of mine introduced me to Oakton. I said, "Awesome! I would love just to compete at the next level. Give myself another opportunity to go play somewhere that I could see."
Shout the buddy out while we're here. Shout the buddy out.
Pete Doty, thank you. He was originally, I think, on scholarship to go to Oakton, and he said no. He was probably burnt out of baseball too, as a lot of us are coming out of high school that play a lot of travel ball. Ended up going to Michigan State, and then he introduced me. He's like, "Hey, I got another outfielder that would love to come, continue to play," and he gave me the opportunity to, go to Oakton and shine and meet some incredible people. Luckily, Pete was able to come back and become my roommate, so I was excited about that. But yeah, that freshman year is interesting. You really do kind of get just dumped into the real world real quick. There's no dorms. There's no acclimating to a living space with people that are like yourself. You get an apartment with 3 random strangers and sometimes a 5th that's staying over. And
oh yeah. I don't know who the hell that guy was.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. I don't recall. But and that was kind of one of my points. I mean, that freshman year was definitely interesting, and I don't remember too much of it because it was just such a blur. Because there's so many big life events happening so quick at such a young age. You really are just like trying to take it all in and learn some things about yourself and how do you get through it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of one of the topics that I had written down was like how do you control your environment? Because that freshman year I feel was chaotic, and I felt like it was a little out of control. Like I was, paying bills on behalf of my parents. Shout out my parents.
Yeah, shout your parents. Who are amazing, by the way.
Who are absolutely incredible. Would love them to death. But you're learning how to pay bills and structure your day between class and going to practice, and then also, all that free time of what you use it, and not, trying not to get in trouble and actually trying to benefit yourself, whether that's going to the library. Didn't do that much, wish I did. Well, or going to the batting cages of the gym and actually betting yourself there. So that freshman year was definitely interesting. And my kind of takeaway on it was I definitely needed to control my environment more of who I was around and where I need to be. And I think we did a great job of that going to the second year. We met some incredible people, and like yourself, Pat, Danny Hyde, Tyler Albright, those guys, Peter Doty. Once we kind of started surrounding ourselves with guys that share the same mentality as you and have similar goals, that's when you can start thriving a little bit.
Hey, man, I love that. And Dave, you wouldn't know about the JUCO grind. Obviously, Josh, Dave played for me at Rock Valley.
Okay, awesome.
So this is an easy one. I did Dave's tour and brought Dave on, and God bless Dave for taking a 22-year-old, 23-year-old's advice. Dave, how about your experience, brother?
Yeah, I think looking back at it, I learned to get uncomfortable and learned how to figure it out. And that's one of my key lessons of just this journey. You don't know what's going to happen in 2-3 years. I would never imagine me being out here living, basically moving away alone, but you figure it out once you take that risk, take that uncomfortable thing. And if you've been thinking about doing something for a while, it's probably the right decision. Even though if you might be a little bit scared, everybody feels that way, and you're not alone in that way.
No.
Trusting my faith and trusting that it will work out, even though it might be very hard. There might be some really hard days, and there will be more hard days to overcome. But throughout my journey of, going to JUCO, going to a school in Iowa, going to a school in Kentucky, I just learned that you figure it out.
Yeah,
That's
no,
a
I agree.
great.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Pap. Go ahead.
No, I think that was a great call out. The first time I got promoted in the sales world, my boss said something like that. He did not believe I was ready for it. But what he did leave me on before he said, yeah, he gave me the green light was if you are 100% ready for that next position, you already missed the window. You got to be ready to be uncomfortable, and you're not fine-tuned just yet. So if you're ready to jump in that position before you're 100% ready, that's when you got to go for it. So I thought that was a great call out, Dave.
And that's why we run these episodes every week,
Yeah.
man, because you're just hearing stuff like that. I've never heard it worded like that. And I'm due for kind of a rant here on this episode so far. It's like you look back at Oakton and you look back at the decisions at 18, 19 years old, and just understanding that, like, we didn't really know what we didn't know. Like, and you look back and you say, hey, maybe we do stuff different. I know I was put in that role at Rock Valley at 22 because I had to make up for some lost time and also give those kids some grace. Because good as Josh, I know we were doing some stuff that we look back, it's like, well, yeah, we wish we could have been in the weight room more and put priorities in different buckets. I don't know. I think we're all in different spots, and we'll get into your professional career here shortly. But like, I just want to call that out. If you're a JUCO athlete or an athlete in general, give yourself some grace. We're all trying to get through this together. And Josh, I thought you did a great job, man, while you were at Oakton. But obviously, you sound like you had some things you wish you could have done differently.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I try to stay away from regret because that does no one any good.
Right.
The biggest thing was that kind of haunts me is I don't think I put enough effort into this is where I think I kind of sold myself short. Just in that recruiting process. We can always change, the work ethic, and you can fine tune that. We're young, we were young at the time. You can learn a lot. I didn't find, I guess I didn't really clarify my end goal in what I was doing at Oakton, and really what it came to is I just wanted to extend my career as long as possible, play the game for as long as possible. I don't think I recognized that as my main priority. I was always trying to chase something that wasn't really my goal, which was like that Division II, Division III, or Division I status that everyone wanted to change and try to get that logo under your LinkedIn and later in life or whatever. But so it really wasn't. I was really trying to just lock in on what my main goal was, and that's the only thing I truly regret was I wish I just put more time into the recruiting process and getting my name out there. I think I kind of sold myself a little short and got some, and it could have changed the trajectory of some of those opportunities with different programs. But that's about it. I try, like I said, I try not to hang my head on regret too much, or you can start spiraling pretty quickly.
I like that, man. I want to keep our timeline moving. Sometimes I feel like we're on The Last Dance right now as I'm like moving the timeline through. But we get to our professional career, and for guys and girls listening, like obviously we have thousands of people, Josh, that listen to this podcast, which we're extremely blessed about.
Yeah.
I run into you at St. Patty's Day. Years down the road, and I have an interaction with Josh that changes my entire life. Do you remember anything about that day, anything after that when the NCSA dream got started?
I don't remember the conversation because you said St. Patty's Day, and I was probably quite a time. So I don't quite remember that exact interaction, but I do remember the NCSA experience, and it kind of just kickstarted my professional career in sales and interacting with people. So definitely grateful for that experience. Whether or not it was going to be the perfect position for me, or if it was a perfect fit, maybe it isn't for everyone, but definitely met some great contacts, and that was definitely a great starting point for myself. I'm trying to think. I think Ryan Hinchley introduced me to Tommy Fields, and Tommy Fields was the one that initially got my foot in the door. If I recall, that's definitely how it happened, and I'm grateful for both of them that gave me the opportunity to continue in the sports world and really start to find myself as a sales professional. So
I love that. I'm very appreciative. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about your transition from college to, I guess, the real world or after college. How did you get through that transition? What would you tell someone that may be in that uncertainty phase of like what I actually want to do with my life? Because after sports is done, it's a big transition.
Yeah, I felt like I was in the exact same position as I graduated high school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for college.
Yep. Here we go again.
Yeah, you finish something, you're like, wow, I did not prep for figuring out what I needed to do for the next step. I didn't know where I wanted to do for a job. I graduated, or you graduate from college. And I think we kind of skipped a part there. I ended up going to Iowa, so afterwards I get a degree, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. After college, I knew I needed to get a job to start paying off student loans and start chipping in, with my parents and some of those bills they were covering for the past few years. But same position. I think I held myself short. I really didn't do, much. I didn't do myself any justice, but kind of, throwing my name in a hat here and there. I should have casted a wider web. Kind of started using those, networking a little bit. Some of those great people I met, in my college career. But it was this very similar process. I didn't know what to do. But you got to have faith. You kind of got to jump into something, and eventually I did. I surrounded myself with people that, want to see me do good. So someone, gave me a tip and introduced me to someone else, which was, Tommy Fields, that gave me the opportunity to go into NCSA and kind of start, diving into the real world a little bit. But my tip would be is, don't let the volume of that scariness of just that open world of the workforce bog you down. Start simple, start somewhere, jump into it. Like I said earlier, you're not going to be 100% ready for any kick right out of the way. If you're a little bit uncomfortable, just to jump into anything, just do it. Get some experience under your belt and just start meeting some people. Start figuring out what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, run that back. If you're a high school or college graduate, man, that's money. That's fantastic advice. And once again, it's why we jump on and do this, because you sit here now in the professional world, having a lot of success, dude. Talk about where you're at now and your family that you're growing now.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see it coming. You have a tough time kind of seeing that when you're young of what it looks like. Everyone says you want the family, the kids, the job, and all that stuff, but no one tells you how to go do it. So you kind of just start figuring it out. But I've been, blessed, and I'm trying not to quote too much Co Wetzel songs today, but I've been too blessed
keep
today.
Going, baby, keep going.
I've been too blessed to whatever today, and that's kind of been my mantra going through life here is, I am blessed, and I am fortunate to, give myself the opportunity to do these awesome things. Like, I was fortunate to, again, Ryan Hinchley comes up in my life a lot because he also introduced me to, his father that gave me the job at, Park Center where I'm currently at.
Keep shouting that guy out.
Yeah. That guy's been a huge, huge factor in my life. And I guess, it translates to my brother in that group again. So, shout out to all of them, Joe Papp and that whole group. But yeah, was able to get to a entry-level sales position, kind of finding myself. But I really end up just applying the stuff I learned in baseball, which is just putting your nose to the grindstone, starting at the basics, and just putting that effort in. And that effort, led to me getting promoted twice, getting, bonuses here and there. And that's all fine and dandy. I try not to, shed too much light on those things, even though those are great feats, but it really developed me as a person.
Right.
And it developed me as a leader, which is something that I still have a complex or a battle with, I guess, I should say, is with leadership. That's something that I feel like has always been put on my shoulders to try to be a leader, but I never really accepted that challenge. And that's something that it's a life goal for myself at this point, is to how do I become a better leader? Because I was always in that role to be a leader, and I just never kind of took to it. I didn't want that title. I never wanted to be that guy. I just wanted to kind of do my own thing, and that's something in my professional world that I think has kind of slingshotted me forward. Was how do I kind of perfect that craft of being a leader and honing that in, and that slingshot me to being a better person outside of work so I can, work up the courage and be the person I should be to be the loving husband to my beautiful wife, Jess, and be a supportive second son to my parents and my brother, being a great son to my brother, because that all takes courage and leadership. And it's never easy. And you always got to kind of fine tune that and continue to put effort down that. So that's, that leadership point and developing there has really been my focus and what's kind of helped me move forward.
Proud of you, man. That's awesome. I
Thank you.
can hear the change. I
Yeah.
can hear the change, and that's amazing. And I know you've always been a good son, man. You've always been a great family guy, and now seeing you kind of start your own, that fires me up, man. I'm excited for you in the future, for your family.
Yeah.
I do have to ask you something though. So I look up at the clock, and we've been going for 30 minutes. I feel like we've been going for 5 minutes, which is incredible. And talk about your keep going moment, man. Obviously, the mantra of this podcast. There's a lot of good here, man. Talk about something that you got through that the normal person wouldn't have.
Yeah. It's funny. Listen to the other podcasts. I knew that's the main question. And I was like, that's the one I need to, prep for. It's always the one. It's always the one that I was like hung up on the most. I was like, I don't quite remember. But it's got to be the family and the friends, the environment and the people that you surround yourself with. Again, I don't want to get too cliche, but there's always that question or the argument of like, is it the destination? Is it the journey? And then I forget, I was scrolling through probably TikTok, which, shout out TikTok, that's going to get banned, but there is there is still some useful things I've learned from it. But, the guy, I forget who it was, but he's like, it's great if you got an end goal and that's what you're trying to reach. It's great that, if you along the way, if you really, enjoy the journey, you're going to have a fruitful life. But what he said kind of, stuck with me the most. Is like, I don't see either one of those being the main driver. It was actually the people along on your journey that help you reach your goals. It was the glue between those two dots there, those two pieces. And that's what I think helped me drive to, keep going, was the people I met along the way and my family that I kind of kept doing it for, as well as myself. A lot of people right now don't think they deserve a chance, an opportunity, or deserve whatever great things to happen, to you. You do. Some people are luckier than others or more fortunate than others, but everyone deserves a chance. So my keep going moment was probably right during that transition from when I ended my athletic career to go to Iowa, where I felt like that was it. And I was like, I thought I was always going to be a baseball player and I was always going to, do this, but it was, I can really try to better myself and my family by, hanging up the cleats, something I never thought that was ever going to happen as a kid, and going somewhere, further my education, meet more people, challenge myself because I was not a school guy, do something that I thought I was never going to do, was get a good degree and then, move on from there. So that was probably my keep going moment from that transition from JUCO to a college, a 4 year.
I love it. I love it, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I know a lot of athletes and coaches that listen to this, that's the toughest thing for a lot of people. Shedding that identity while you're 20 years old, man, is something I didn't have to go through, but I was close, when I left Oakton. Can you elaborate on that and what you did during those times that made it better?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't better for a little while. I definitely struggled with it. It was, that first semester, not quite scared that it's such a big school that end up going to University of Iowa and Iowa City. Shout out. Awesome place, by the way. So if you could further your education there, recommend.
Check it out. Check it out. Shameless plug for Iowa. Play the banner on the screen. Play the banner.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely struggled with it for a while because, you're just going to class and, you're going to the gym, but you're not connecting with that core group of guys and trying to reach an end goal as a collective. You're now doing it as an individual again, which has got its benefits in its own. But yeah, that like you said, that identity was gone. I was no longer an athlete. Everyone there, besides the Division I football and baseball guys that you don't really mingle with because they got their crew, but you're no longer that baseball guy, and you're like, it's kind of like that meme. It's like, do they know I'm forklift certified you're in the corner of the party? It's like, do they know I was a good athlete? Like, I'm just another.
Exactly.
It's like they don't know this. So you try to find different avenues, like, intramural sports and all that stuff. But that's where I truly struggled. You join an intramural softball league, and you're like, you're hitting bombs. You're like, oh, you're really good at this. And I was like, yeah, but this is like soft toss. This is easy me. This
Right.
is actually only bringing me the other way a little bit.
Like, I was made to do this. Like, I was made to hit the ball, right?
Yeah,
Like,
this is what I was born for. So this isn't really
yes.
anything special to me. So it's still something I kind of battle with to this day. It's like, how do I get that identity back in small glimpses and small factors? But it's how you change your perspective and your mentality around it. It's like, hey, it didn't go the way you planned, and it was that hard decision to, hang up the cleats, but you still have other opportunities to enjoy that great thing we call sports in different ways, whether it's going bowling or whether it's still playing softball with your buddies once a week, so you can, forget about the troubles of the world and, whatever it may be. So it definitely was difficult. What I recommend is you got to get through it. You got to keep going. I say you almost kind of lean into it a little bit. And whether it is coaching, that's something I've always kind of tinkered with, is like, maybe I get into coaching and assist some other people with those decisions, or it's just continuing, with my own mental health and continue to play softball, or, getting into golf, which that's a mental toughness game on a whole nother level.
Yeah, not doing it, bro.
Yeah,
not doing it.
I love golf. I actually don't recommend that, because it might not. It's nice to get outside and enjoy the nature, but if you struggle with mental health and, being too tough on yourself, golf is probably not the best sport to go into.
No, not at all. And I'm gonna go to Dave here, because Dave, we were talking about how other things can kind of fill that role, right? I think the weight room has kind of filled mine. Coaching has kind of filled my cup. You've been skiing, snowboarding out there in Colorado, man. You've been finding your niche, huh?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think after that sport is over as an athlete, your entire life, there's still other stuff you can do other than you're just not your sport. There's so many other things out there that you can get involved with, but you have to be willing to try new things too. And once you really understand, like, getting out of your comfort zone, trying new things, you learn about yourself a little bit more. Like, oh, I actually enjoyed playing pickleball, like going snowboarding.
Right.
Find enjoyment out of other things other than your sport, because if you just define yourself as your sport, it's going to be really hard for you to be happy.
Right. I agree. And like Pappy said, I chose the exact opposite of you, Pap. Like, I jumped right into NCSA with college coaching, stayed in college coaching. I'm still with NCSA going on year 7. So like, I chose to kind of dive into that. But somebody told me in this game, like, it's eating a bag of potato chips. You can't just have one. Like, there's always a way you can stay in the game if you want to. But it sounds like right now, Pap, you found love in different ways and you've excelled through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so proud of you, man. That gig, when I referred you to that company, and, you're a couple months in, I could tell that, that was gonna be a perfect spot for you. And I'm so happy for you, because that's awesome. I've seen what you've been doing, and I'm so grateful that we still got a friendship that extends to something like this. But yeah, keep going. That's super cool.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for all you did. I look up, and I'll say this. I kind of gave him some flowers earlier today, but like, Dave, Pap got me the job at NCSA 7 years ago, on a St. Patty's Day bar crawl. He walked up to me, didn't have to, gave me a business card, said, hey, man, like, I know we haven't talked in a couple years. Like, I got this role, right? And I look up, and I'm speaking on Perfect Game TV last week at the convention in DC. And I look up, and I can't help but think, wow, I got Pappy coming on the podcast next week. How funny is God?
Yeah, right.
Like, because I'm never there, Pap. I'm never on these stages. And I've got the opportunity to talk at high schools, colleges, because of you, bro. And I sit here and I just think about you, and you see Guido doing his thing now with NCSA. Yeah. Just know that your fingerprints are on all this, man. So I love you for that, dude. I appreciate you.
No, that's awesome. That really gives me a full, heavy heart a little bit. That's come full circle, because, it kind of, full circle back to me being 18 in high school, almost wishing I had someone like Pat O'Malley kind of just speak at something, being like, yo, you could do this. Check this out.
Appreciate you.
Get your name out there. Maybe if I did have a Pat O'Malley around in my life, it could have changed some things, but at least changed my athletic career and, made it been a little more fruitful. But it's been an awesome journey. And I'm so excited for you and see where it takes you.
Thanks, my man. Well, I want to do this. I do have a couple rapid fire questions I want to get to.
Okay.
If you listen to any episodes that Dave's on, I always just throw Dave under the bus and have him go first. So, Dave, you got the first question for Pat because you guys are both JUCO outfielders. I feel it's rightfully so, I should say.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I got to jump off after this question.
All right, I'm glad I gave it to you.
I'm just gonna throw the floor open to you here, Josh. Anything that you want to say to our audience today that we might have missed?
Yeah, definitely put the emphasis on the correlation between your physical health and mental health. Get in the gym, get to the gym. We were talking about that prior we jumped on. The toughest part is getting yourself to the gym. Sometimes I'll sit in my car outside, playing a fist and be like, I just don't want to do this today. But
yep.
I have never regretted it once going inside the gym, whether it's 10 minutes or 2 hours of putting in some hard work. And if that's the hardest thing you got to do for the day, then, the rest of the day could be pretty easy if putting yourself through that physical stress. So I would want to, stress the importance of what that physical toll on your body plays on your mental health. Because after you go to the gym, you clear up some of that negativity, those negative thoughts that maybe, whether it's from the day before, if you work out in the morning, or at the end of the day where you just had a stressful one heck of a day, and kind of clear that, restart, take some of that stress out, put it into some weights, put it on the treadmill, and just kind of shed some of that negativity. So that's probably one of my biggest takeaways. If you're not there, it just takes one day. Just get to it, get inside the gym, do anything. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It'll literally change the rest of your day, change your mindset.
Man, shed that how about that, Dave? Shed that negativity, man. I like that a bunch.
I couldn't agree more on that. Get in there, work on yourself, take it one day at a time.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Thank you for coming on. I got to jump off here.
All right, David Mitchell.
Thanks,
appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it, buddy.
You, my guy.
Yeah.
All right, well, I got a second question for you, Pappy, while we're still here. So I tell the story all the time about the backfield in Fort Myers when we take on the Phillies our freshman year. Talk about what's going through your head when they throw that 96-97 Dominican against us in game one. Talk about your approach as basically a high school guy. You're 18 still that first year. What was going through your head when you're facing those guys?
Oh, my ego definitely was showing a little bit when we started doing the research, and like, this guy just got a $1 million signing bonus. I'm like, this guy? And he steps on the field. He's like 6'6" lefty, 250. I'm like, all right, it makes sense, but I'm gonna let him know why I should be getting that money.
Amen, bro. Amen. And I think you did, if I remember, left center gap.
I think it was right center gap. Triple off the wall, or one off the wall with a wood bat. And I never really play with a wood bat much in my athletic career, but it definitely felt nice. Round and second going, dude, I could do this. These guys are nothing.
Oh yeah, I remember that, man. I remember that knock and having that ball go in the gap and just being electric, right? Like that was. I talk about to my guys now, my college commits and the JUCO bandits, right? They're coming in there next year. Yeah. Just be ready, boys. Just be ready, and that's the big thing. I love that, man.
That was a cool experience being able to play at that field against those guys, kind of seeing. A whole different world of baseball where we all came from a Chicago suburb, competing with each other, to people that came from a different country, might not even speak English yet.
They didn't.
Yeah, just trying to get an opportunity to maybe come to this country and benefit their life, and they're out here in this field pitching against Josh Paparone, and I'm taking them to the wall.
It was great, man. That must have been humbling for that guy. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. I think that's why baseball is so great. I still talk to my guys. The guys like have lessons this week. I'm talking about that game and that story. That's amazing. I had to bring that up for sure.
No, that's a good one, and definitely a highlight, a core memory. Something I'll have to share with my my future kids as they're maybe down in the dumps trying to get some get some motivation. It's like, hey, you never know who's going to be on that bump. It could be some guy throwing, 90 and some nasty stuff on the mound from Dominican Republic, or it could be just another guy across from me that grew up in the same setting. And either way, you gotta take it the same approach, that you gotta want to take them yard. You want to do the best for yourself. So
I love it, man. Well, I hope you share that with your kids. If they don't believe you, just call me, okay? I'll make sure to give you a raving review.
Yeah.
Last thing, Pappy, and I'll wrap us up, man. You've been more than, courteous with your time, dude. I know it's a Sunday morning. I appreciate you. I want to give you your true flowers moment here. When you come on a podcast like this, you impact a lot of people because you have a guy like yourself that comes on. You haven't stopped smiling for the last 40 minutes since you've been on here. You come on here all positive. You've gone through your ups and downs. You've had your family struggles, the game, all that stuff. Kids that are struggling right now with mental health, what would you say to them? That's all.
Yeah. There's definitely no silver bullet answer I can give you to this. Everyone deals with stuff, the same way. I think why I'm taking a liking to this so much, Baz, because I would say this is probably the toughest part of my life right now. Dealing with family stuff and those personal goals of getting married and thinking about starting a family. This is I'm really in the heat of it right now, and I think it's the toughest point in my life. And I think it's if you can recognize that, it's all downhill, or whatever the saying is, it should be gravy afterwards. But to the kids that are just getting into the journey, you really got to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. I think in today's age, you really are comparing yourself to just too much. You're always on the phone. You're seeing someone going on vacation with their family on a yacht, or whatever it may be. You're always seeing someone doing something great. You're only seeing the highlights. You got to give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you're doing right by yourself, and you are. You deserve some moments of happiness. Not everyone has a perfect life. I don't believe in perfection. As a whole, I believe in perfect moments. And those are you want to try to capture as many perfect moments as possible, whether that's, having just a great conversation across the table with maybe a possible future partner that you can see with the rest of your life, or hitting a triple off a wall against a 6'5" Dominican. Those little perfect moments. That game wasn't perfect. I don't even remember the other hits, or if I had another opportunity or whatever it was, but I remember that one little perfect moment. It's try to chase those little perfect moments, whether it might be, and set realistic goals against it. It's really not end all be all on your athletic career and being a student athlete. But giving yourself the benefit of the doubt and putting that energy, that positive energy, back into yourself, you could really surprise yourself.
Josh Paparone, you are going to be a hell of a father. You're a great brother. You're a great son. And you've been a friend of mine for the last 7+ years. And I'm blessed to call you one, man. Just know you've impacted my life. You've impacted so many lives today. And keep going, dude. I appreciate you and all you've done in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you too, man. Thank you for having me on. Really excited to see what the future holds for us as we get old and gray, and how we can maybe impact the younger crowd.
That's all we can do, man. And hey, and once you got to get some kids come up the pipeline, man, if you want to get that itch to start coaching again, brother, you let me know, all right?
Yeah, 2025 is going to be an interesting year. I think we're all back. We're so back. I'm excited to see what this year can have, in store for me, and it's going to be some fun stuff. So I'll keep you in the loop.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. Well, shout out Raider Nation. Shout out all the JUCO guys and girls listening to this. And above all else, keep going, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thanks. Have a good one.